A campsite, 50,000 years ago. The sun has set. The fire crackles. A small group of hunter-gatherers sits together, warming their hands, eating the day's catch. And then someone begins to talk. Not about where to find water tomorrow. Not about the antelope herd spotted on the plain. They talk about something else entirely. They talk about people. They talk about who is trustworthy and who is not. Who helped the group last week and who held back food. Who is looking for a mate and who is trouble. They share rumors, jokes, warnings, and praise. They gossip. Today we use the word gossip like it's a bad thing. We call it petty, shallow, a waste of time. But what if gossip is the exact opposite? What if gossip was the technology that allowed human beings to survive? Anthropologist Polly Wiessner spent decades studying the hoansi Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert. In 2014, she published one of the most fascinating studies in anthropology. She recorded their conversations during the day and at night, and she found something remarkable. During daylight hours, the hoansi talk about practical matters. Hunting, gathering, tools, logistics. About 80% of daytime conversation is economic or technical. It is functional, direct, and focused on survival. But when the sun goes down and the campfire is lit, the conversation changes completely. At night, around the fire, only 6% of talk is about economic matters. The rest is about something else entirely. People tell stories, they discuss social relationships, they gossip, they debate values, share myths, recall ancestors, and negotiate alliances. Wiessner called this firelight talk, and she argued it is absolutely fundamental to human culture. Why does the fire matter so much? Because fire extended the day. Before humans mastered fire, darkness meant sleep. Once we had fire, we gained hours of awake time that no other animal had. And we didn't use that time to sleep more. We used it to talk. This created what researchers call the firelight niche. It was a space separate from the work of the day. A space for social bonding, for cultural transmission, for the kind of conversations that bind a group together. The flickering light, the warmth, the safety from predators, all of it created an environment where people could lower their guard and open their mouths. And what came out of those mouths was gossip. To understand why gossip matters, we need to talk about Robin Dunbar. Dunbar is an evolutionary psychologist who proposed something called the social brain hypothesis. His idea was simple, but revolutionary. The size of a primate's brain correlates with the size of its social group. The bigger the group, the bigger the brain needs to be to keep track of all the relationships. For most primates, social bonding happens through grooming. One ape picks lice out of another's fur. This physical contact releases endorphins and builds trust. But grooming has a hard limit. You can only groom one individual at a time, and it takes a long time to do it well. Dunbar calculated that the maximum group size for primates relying on grooming is about 50 to 55 individuals. Beyond that, the social bonds begin to break down. Cheating goes unpunished. Cooperation collapses. The group fragments. But humans don't rely on grooming. We rely on language. And specifically, we rely on gossip. Gossip is verbal grooming. It allows one person to bond with multiple others simultaneously. Instead of spending hours picking lice, you can spend minutes discussing who is reliable, who is dangerous, and who owes you a favor. You can gather information about dozens of people without ever seeing them. You can maintain social cohesion in a group far larger than any grooming-based society could sustain. Dunbar's number is 150. That is the approximate maximum size of a human social group that can be held together through personal relationships and gossip. Beyond 150, you need institutions, laws, and hierarchies. But below 150, gossip is the operating system. And here's the critical point. The human groups that outcompeted Neanderthals and other hominins were larger, more cooperative, and better informed. Gossip was the technology that made that possible. Think about what gossip actually does. It enforces social norms. If someone cheats, steals, or breaks a rule, gossip spreads the word. The cheater's reputation is damaged. They face social consequences. In a small group, this is more powerful than any law because it affects survival directly. The group can withhold food, exclude the individual, or refuse cooperation. Gossip is the enforcement mechanism. It builds trust networks. When you hear that someone helped another family during a hard time, you update your mental database. You know who is reliable. You know who to partner with, who to marry your children to, and who to avoid. Gossip creates a distributed reputation system that no individual could maintain alone. It coordinates collective action. Gossip allows people to align their strategies without formal meetings. It creates shared expectations and shared narratives. A group that gossips effectively is a group that can act as one. It even drives cultural evolution. Myths, stories, moral lessons, and practical knowledge all travel through gossip. The stories told around the fire don't just entertain, they educate. They preserve information across generations without writing. Polly Wiessner's research showed that the hoansi use firelight talk to do exactly this. They discuss the qualities of good and bad people. They reinforce values of generosity and warn against selfishness. They share stories of ancestors who faced similar challenges. In doing so, they strengthen the social fabric that keeps the group alive. Without gossip, human groups would have remained small, vulnerable, and fragmented. We would never have built the large, cooperative societies that allowed us to dominate every ecosystem on Earth. We would have remained just another primate, grooming our closest allies, unable to scale. Gossip is the reason we didn't go extinct. The Neanderthals had larger brains than us. They were stronger. They had better tools in some ways. But they lived in smaller, more isolated groups. They didn't have the social technology of gossip to bind large populations together. When the climate shifted and resources became scarce, fragmented groups died out. Cooperative groups survived. Cooperation requires information. Gossip is how we share it. So the next time you find yourself discussing someone's behavior, sharing a story about a mutual friend, or warning someone about a person to avoid, remember what you're doing. You're not being petty. You're performing an ancient essential function. You are the campfire. You are the voice in the dark, keeping the group alive. 50,000 years ago, our ancestors didn't have smartphones. They didn't have writing. They didn't have laws or courts or police. But they had fire, and they had voices. And with those two tools, they created the most powerful social technology in the history of life on Earth. They gossiped. And because they gossiped, we are here. Thanks for watching. If this deep dive into the evolutionary science of gossip surprised you, hit that like button and subscribe. I want to hear from you. Do you think gossip is good or bad? Has it helped you avoid a bad situation, or has it caused one? Drop your stories in the comments. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and remember, sometimes the most important technology is just talking about each other.